Gaming in 2023 is being claimed as one of the best years in gaming in a long time. And I want to sit down with my man 30 and Still Gaming and talk about just our review of 2023, right? What a gaming year it's been. So gaming in 2023, a review with 30 and Still Gaming. He is linked below in the description. You can click on his name at 30NSG. He's been covering a lot of different things. And we are doing this a little bit earlier because it looks like the next 2 weeks we might not be able to do shows. But if we are able to do a show, we will do one that is basically what we're looking forward to in 2024. So we're not going to be getting into that too much today. We are going to talk about maybe some of the top events and announcements of this year that we were really excited about. We're going to do a completely different show as well about what we're looking forward to in 2024. Mike, thanks so much for being here. I am going to end the previous stream and redirect people over here. How are you doing, dude?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Looks like you're doing better. We weren't able to do shows for a couple weeks here, so glad to have you back.
Yeah, I had a schedule because Fridays, I went to the dentist for the last 2 weeks, and Fridays are my day off when I stream. But you stream, we do our show, and I was like, I need Fridays, so
no
good
problem.
recovery over the weekend.
Yeah, no problem at all. We didn't get to talk about the Game Awards. We didn't get to. There's so much to talk about. And I want to do it in order, though. So we're going to make you guys wait for our thoughts on the Game Awards because people were being really critical of Jeff Keighley. And I thought overly critical. And if you guys are gifting members throughout this stream, I won't be able to necessarily shout them out, but I'll update the goal down below me. We are trying to unlock community game night. So thank you, Joker Quinn. So I want to start with, let's just talk games, okay? Because so many games came out this year, and I need your either your personal game of the year if you can pick one, and if not, I need at least your top three. Like, what were the ones you really made sure to complete, the ones that are really memorable, or the ones that you would put at the top of any list this year, telling people, hey, check these games out.
Well, I put not enough time into Baldur's Gate 3. I only put about 11 and a half hours into Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, fantastic game. I just don't have time to play it because it's just such an in-depth game, but I'm gonna try this holiday. But regardless of Baldur's Gate 3, because I didn't put enough time in, I've played quite a bit of games this year. I played Hi-Fi Rush, I played Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor, Diablo 4, Starfield. We played RoboCop. I played what was the other one that was called? I wrote some of them down. Oh, Lord of the Rings, Return of Moria. The Final Descent was the beta. And BattleBit Remastered. Now, according to Xbox, because of the amount of hours I put in, the three top games that they gave me, because everyone was posting it, was Diablo 4, Starfield, and Hogwarts Legacy. My game that I picked that I like the best this year is a toss-up between Hogwarts Legacy and Jedi Survivor. Right? I really and that I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all. Right? I'm not a Potterhead at all. I just really enjoyed that game. It just, something about it just really clicked with me. And then Jedi Survivor, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I absolutely loved it. Those are the two games, but a sleeper that I actually liked, and these are all like nostalgia type of things, is RoboCop. I loved RoboCop. I know you played very little of it, but I played through the whole thing, and I absolutely loved RoboCop. They nailed it 1,000% in for RoboCop.
I mean, RoboCop was a surprise, right? Because, and the funny thing about it is people talk about it, and you can tell they probably have never watched the movie. No. This is so corny. It's like, it's one.
That's exactly why I like it. Yeah,
it's like one to one. Did you see some of the frame by frames people did to show? Like, they did things that literally happen almost frame by frame in the movie. It's just so. Yeah. This really reminds me of a debate I've been having with people about Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, where, you know, I feel like RoboCop kind of got a raw deal. It was faithful to the movie, and it's unique. It's like you can't really play a game like that. Now, you can play some indie games. There's some really cool indie shooters that I played over the years that kind of bring that classic Doom type shooter, but this was different. It had its own feel and its own vibe, and I felt like Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora very similarly just got really, really beat up by the review outlets. But then when you go and look at what the users think, it's got a good score. It's like in the mid to high 80s with the users. Did you look and see like where Where did RoboCop land with the users? Like, are people digging it?
I didn't even look. I'm one of those people that don't care. Like when I find a thing I like, I play it no matter what, you know. So
well, it's got a 93% on Steam, so I would say people are digging it. Now, I will admit that that's probably because I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who played RoboCop and are like, this isn't for me, and they just uninstall, right? So their review's not in there. But the people that bought it and played it are having a good time, and I think that's important. In a year where so many games have come out that the variety has been overwhelming. So that's awesome that game there. So if you had to pick a top one out of the list, which one would you pick? Would you go with Jedi?
I kind of would go with Hogwarts because I was just so... I don't know about that game. I know it's not... It didn't do anything like amazing, right? It was just a regular game, but I don't know. I just love the fact that the developers like nailed that world. Like I've seen all the movies, right? Like I said, I'm not a Harry Potter Potterhead. I appreciate from the film's aspect side. And I looked at the castle, going through the castle, and I was like, this is amazing. Like the amount of detail that they put into this game and the world. And I get the people from the gaming aspect are like, oh, they didn't do anything, amazing. But the music was good. The gameplay was good. I was worried about the gameplay when we first saw the looks of it last year and stuff. I was like, well, how is that going to be fun? It's fun. It's like, it just hit. And it's not the game I played the most, but it's the game that left an impression on me this year for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I got close to 40 hours, and then I didn't get to finish it because some other things had come out that I was playing. But while I was playing these other games to either get footage or to be prepared to talk about them, my wife continued to play it. So we had, we got 2 TVs so we could play games together. And I got to tell you, if it would have been co-op, I know for sure I would have kept on playing because I'd have kept playing with her. But I was watching her play. She put in like over 60 hours, so she beat the game. So I did get to see how the story ended because I was curious. I was pretty close to the end, and I've kind of wanted to go back and finish it. But she started trying to do like all of the pages and all of the achievements, and she just had a great time. She did run into a bug where we even looked up the guide on how to find the one moth.
The one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's just not there. It's like a bug. I don't know if they've ever gone back and fixed it.
I put 140 hours into that game. Yeah.
Well, I don't think my wife has ever put 60 hours in a game by herself. Now, her and I have played games together. Borderlands 1, 2, the pre-sequel. We've played games like that, Diablo 3, where we put in tons of hours. But I don't think I've ever seen my wife sit down on her own and play, a game for 60 hours like that. So that game really, really had that broad appeal. And I do think, we could touch on that when we get to the Game Awards, right? Was it snubbed? It was one of the most searched games this year on Google when Google Trends released their report. For me, my personal game of the year, it was Jedi Survivor. And then Spider-Man.
Which is surprising because for the longest time you're like, there's a piece of shit.
Well,
like you were mad.
I was very mad. And to a certain degree, I still am mad about that because I have concerns about where the next game's going to go. Once they got the game running well on console, I went back and played it. I refused to play it. It was so bad. Right. And once they said, oh, we've completely revamped performance mode, I was incredibly impressed that they did that because it did feel completely different once they did that. And went back, played it, beat it, absolutely loved it. It's not just a good game. It's not just a good Star Wars game. It is an excellent Star Wars story. Like, it was just so awesome.
It's better stories in the video games that they've done at Respawn with this series than they've done in the films that they've put out.
But the reason I'm concerned is right after they got it running well on console, the director left to go to Santa Monica. And I personally think, this is my theory, I think it launched too early because of Disney, because they wanted a new Star Wars game every 6 months. And I think he left because of Disney. Because Cameron Monaghan already confirmed, that's his name, right? Cameron Monaghan, is that how you say it? Cameron already confirmed there's another game coming, which we kind of knew that, right? We knew, okay, they're definitely going to do a trilogy. But my concern is that Disney said, this is your timeline. This is when we want that game out. And the director probably said, there's just no way. Like, that's my concern about the next game, is that they're going to lose talent, they're going to lose vision, and it's going to come out too soon. It's going to be a bit of a bummer. It's going to feel like Tomb Raider, right? The first 2 Tomb Raider games were excellent, and then that third Tomb Raider came out, and I was like, what in the world is this? A different team made it and just didn't have the same feel. So I am concerned, but that was my game of the year. And then I played Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 2, in my estimation and in my opinion, I'm a huge fan of open-world action-adventure games.
Right.
Spider-Man 2 is the best open-world action-adventure game I've ever played. It just is.
Yes. See, I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I didn't play it. So otherwise, it probably would have been on that on my list.
My brother was asking me about, are there enough exclusives to justify getting my boys a PS5? And I said, the fact that you're coming late to PlayStation is a huge advantage. I said, because there's so many games. I said, because he was going to get him the Spider-Man bundle. Hopefully they're not watching this. Oops. No, they're not allowed to watch. They're not allowed to watch the show. They're not allowed to watch the show because they're restricted to only so many things they can watch on YouTube. And I'm not one of them. And
I definitely wouldn't be one of them.
Well, it isn't you. Like, I say frick and stuff, and they don't.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, no, definitely wouldn't be watching me.
That's for sure. Well, I told him, I said, there's a huge advantage. I said, if you get him that Spider-Man bundle, I said, look, don't let him play Spider-Man 2. Make him play the first game in Miles. Like, there's just such a treasure trove of games there. So much, so much value. And yeah, you've got to get yourself a PS5, man, because these games are just getting so good. I mean, actually, you should probably just wait and buy a Pro at the end of next year.
Or just wait till it comes to PC.
Yeah. We know Spider-Man 2 is going to come to PC. I mean, that's obvious because after the first one. But Jedi Survivor got bumped to second place because of that. It just did. Now, for me, third place isn't a game, but it was so enjoyable, and I had such a good time with it. I had to put Phantom Liberty up here for Cyberpunk, mainly because it did what was seemingly impossible.
What do you mean it wasn't a game? Oh, because you're saying it's a DLC. It wasn't a standalone game.
DLC.
I got you.
Yeah, it's DLC. But it did seemingly the impossible, because I started with Cyberpunk many times, and I think Phantom Liberty is the way that Cyberpunk should open. Like, that's just how the game should open. It's perfect. It's paced well. The action's great. The story's great. The sequences are cinematic and they're bombastic. And I loved it. And honestly, Phantom Liberty, I was actually coming around on Starfield, and then I played Phantom Liberty, and I was like, I can't go back. Like, this is superior in so many ways. There's no way I can go back. Like, no shade to people that have had a good time with Starfield. Myself, I was like, I can't go back now. And I got to mention Final Fantasy 16 because that's the one I'm torn on. That feels like Jedi Survivor because it's like, I love it, but the performance mode is so unenjoyable because it only gives me consistent frames in combat. The minute you come out of combat or go into a town, it looks like a slideshow. It's really rough. And I know people don't care about that if they run quality mode, but for me personally, I'm like, this is awful. I can't do this. So, and then, honorable mentions, I do have Hogwarts on there because it was so good, but then I want to throw in Synapse, which is a PSVR 2 game. It's super
I've been playing a lot of VR games as well. Sorry.
Yeah, it's super creative. It uses the eye tracking. You can look at boxes and these barrels with your eyes and then pick them up telekinetically and throw them. So
cool.
That feels awesome, and the gunplay feels awesome. It's a rogue, and I did one complete run through, and I was working on upgrades to do another complete run through. I think I've come around on rogues. Like, Returnal really convinced me that rogues can be a blast, but then I think rogues are like perfect for VR. You can kind of play in a bite-sized way. Like, not everybody. I don't want to have a VR headset on for super long play sessions. It's not nice little 45-minute, hour-long session in VR is perfect, I think.
Have you tried, it's not a VR game, but have you tried, it's a roguelike game. Have you tried Roboquest?
I love Roboquest.
Roboquest is such a good game.
It's so fun. I was at my brother's house for Thanksgiving, and I saw Roboquest on Game Pass.
That's when I started playing it. My son was playing it before me.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, you got to try this. He's like, I think this will be right up your alley. And I was like, you think so? He's like, yeah. He goes, I don't like the game because every time I die, I got to start over from the beginning. I go, oh. I was like, you're playing a roguelike. He's like, a what? I'm like, you're playing a rogue. I was like, when you go and then you pick up gear and get better, but when you die, you start back at the start. He's like, yeah, I don't like it. Then I started playing with him because it's co-op. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is fun. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, this is good stuff. Yeah. It reminds me of Borderlands so much.
Yes. That's what drew me to it. I saw it on Game Pass, and And I was like, this looks kind of cool. So I installed it. I played it. And my nephews were like, what is that? And I told them. And so they downloaded it. And we started playing together. We started figuring out the secrets, like how to get doors open and how to get the swim trunks to the one guy.
Yeah.
It's so
swim trunks.
So fun. And then you can unlock the different guys. Like, I really like the guy I have now where I think I forget what he has. He's got, he can throw out the drones, that guy.
That's blue. I think it's blue. I like purple, the purple robot. He's like a melee expert. It's so fun. You run up to people and you get better health as you're slicing people. It's so great.
And the thing about it is I got a little frustrated because we got to a certain point and I felt like the difficulty turned too sharp, but it really just came down to getting the better guys, getting the better perks, and then going in and feeling stronger. And there was a couple of runs where you get to the fields and everything's just too strong. You just die really fast. And then after a couple of runs, we got strong enough. I got to a boss that was crazy. I was like, I don't even know how you're supposed to fight this guy. Like, the whole room was full of explosions and it was wild. I've been telling everybody, man, check out Roboquest. It's on Game Pass. Super fun game.
Yeah, it's on PC and it's on Game Pass. And if you don't get it on Game Pass, I think it's like 20 or 25 bucks, something like that.
Yeah.
100% worth it. 100% worth it.
I've been told to check out Gunfire Reborn as well. So PlayStation guys, if this is sounding dope, it's not on PlayStation. So you can check out Gunfire Reborn instead. I've heard that's also a very good little rogue co-op, up to 4 players, I think, in Gunfire. So, but on the subject of rogues, I've been coming around to them. There was this other game on PSVR 2 called Gazzlers that I really enjoyed.
Haven't heard of it.
It looks like Borderlands, and you have a gun, and you can put up a shield. And this is on multiple platforms. You need to
You're
check.
You're selling me so far. Gun and shield, check. Got it.
You need to check this one out. So you're on the back of this truck, and you're just shooting things as you're going. And you hold the button to put up it's like a blue, like, electric shield. You hold it to put it up, and it'll absorb the bullets. You can actually dodge with your head, which makes a huge difference in some of the fights.
So you don't get off the truck. You're always on the truck.
Correct.
Okay.
And you get these upgrades for your gun. Like, my gun at one point was sick. I was just blowing everything away. Like, it's really, really fun. Check that one out. If you've been getting into VR, it's not the greatest name. I'll tell you that. It's called Gazzlers with 2 Z's. Gazzlers. Check that one out. Well worth it. Because, again, rogues are just so fun in VR. The quick bite size of a session. And I'm saying all that because the year has ended really strongly with 2 games. I was not expecting this. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. They dropped this free DLC.
Yeah, at the Game Awards, it looked good. I was excited, and I don't even have a PlayStation 5. I was like, oh man, that looks like a fun time.
Right. Well, I'm thinking, that's creative. A rogue mode in God of War. And we know there's a rogue mode coming in the Last of Us Part 2 remaster that's coming in January. Like, they're adding that as like a value. It's a brand new thing. And there's been other games that have done this rogue mode thing, right? Assassin's Creed Valhalla did it. Hitman did it. Prey Moon Crash. Like, everybody's, hey, you can come play our game, but as a rogue. And this isn't just a rogue, though. There is such crazy good story elements. I won't even go into the details. It's too good because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Okay.
But I've told people, if you've been playing God of War since the beginning and you don't play this, you're just a fool. You are missing out because it harkens back and does things all the way back to the earlier games. And
Why wouldn't you play it, though? It's free. It's free. Why wouldn't you play it?
There are people that don't like rogues, and I'm like, listen, you can.
I don't like rogues, but some of them, like Roboquest or even Jedi Survivors, like, sort of light rogue type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain places you can't go, and you have to come. Well, that's actually more Metroidvania.
Yeah, that's Metroidvania.
Yeah. But
I was getting ready to ask. I was like, wait, how's Jedi roguelike?
Yeah, I was thinking. I corrected myself. Okay. That'll get clipped, though. You're welcome. So, I don't really like rogues either, but I looked at it and went, that's like a no-brainer. It's free, and it's just more like, if you like God of War for the story, it's more story in the game while you're doing this roguelike, right? So,
well, and on the subject of surprise games here at the end of the year, I know you've been playing it, and I just got done talking about it. Like, Lego Fortnite comes out of nowhere.
I'm loving it.
And it, like, takes over the world. Like, there's so many people playing this. It's dominating. Like, the other modes they launched are getting, like, way less attention in comparison. Like, It's so much fun. I was not expecting this at all.
It's a blast, and I haven't played with my son yet because he wasn't doing something, and I punished him, so he wasn't allowed to play video games for the last week and a half.
Oh,
Right? So I've been playing it, and he stands over my shoulder. He's like, "Can you do that?" And I turn around and go, "Excuse me." I said, "You're not able to play a game." He's like, "I'm not playing. I'm just watching." I was like, he wants to play so bad. He wants to play so bad. So I've been doing it on purpose to mess with him. But that's how my family runs. We mess with each other. It's a blast, man. I caught your tail end of what you were talking about. I'm absolutely loving the Lego Fortnite. I've put in easily like 40 hours already, and within a week I put in 40 hours. Because it came out Thursday? It came out last Wednesday, Thursday.
It came out on the 7th, so a week ago.
Yeah, I've almost put in almost 40 hours in. Because when I'm not streaming, I've been playing it, and then late night I play it. When I'm doing something, I'll go on real fast, go get some materials and whatnot. I like the community tab where you can give 7 keys out to your fellow. You know, if you have members that you trust, you can come into your world, and they have a key. So when you're not online, they can continue playing in that world. It's amazing. So like when you come back on, they're still continuing building stuff or exploring stuff, getting resources for things. It's really cool. It's a really cool perk, I guess, they started with at launch.
Well, and they put out a post today, and they had to delete it because I guess inside of the post was stuff that's not in the game yet. So they made a little mistake. And one of the things in the post was build a getaway vehicle, and it looks like a pirate ship steering wheel. So they
have a pirate ship steering wheel. I saw the leak thing of that. It's supposed to come out like real soon.
Right,
yeah.
So I'm thinking, man, the sky's the limit here, because they could just add other islands for you to travel to, and we know that Lego and Star Wars are good friends. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because somebody showed me the skins that they already had. Like they'd already had Star Wars skins in Fortnite, and what an easy thing to do. Those little Star Wars models already exist, right? They already exist in those video games. So,
some characters are already transferred over. Like someone came into my game and they were Boba Fett, but I have Mando and he's not in the game yet. So it's like a default for him, and I think it's a default skin for like Finn and something else. There's a couple defaults like for Deadpool. So I'm sure that'll all come over. I did something yesterday. I purchased the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fortnite because of the Lego.
Wait! You did a microtransaction.
Yeah, but I didn't spend any money because I was a founder with Fortnite like years ago. Every time I log in, I gain the V-Bucks for like years and years and years. So I had enough that I was 5 short, and I went into Save the World, did a daily quest real fast, and boom. So I got it for free, but I got it for I didn't spend any money, but I did make a microtransaction though. I did.
But you used a currency that you earned by playing. That's like using, Bright Dust in Destiny or something.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Mipsy, for those gifted members, man. I appreciate that. And guys, make sure you're smashing a like button if you're enjoying the show. I want to read some of your top lists here. Lone Wolf says, my top 5 games this year: Jedi Survivor, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Lords of the Fallen, and Lies of P. I feel bad for not mentioning Lies of P because you got to be in the mood for those games, and I kind of got out of the mood. I really burned myself out, I think, with how much I played Elden Ring, because I'm not a FromSoft guy. I'm a latecomer. Sekiro's my favorite, but Lies of P was so, I think, unfairly treated by the press. I went and looked at the user scores on Steam, and I was like, how does this thing have such a good score? And then you go look at the reviews, and the reviews had it way lower than the user scores. I think like almost 14 or 15 points lower on the aggregate. It's got a 92 on Steam. In the last 30 days, it has a 95. Beautiful game, such a cool idea, and all the negative reviews were like, it's too much like other FromSoft games. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's like, this pizza tastes like pizza. I don't understand.
It's a Souls game.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Lone Wolf says, also as a Star Wars fan and Spider-Man, Jedi Survivor is the better game in my opinion. I mean, you're welcome to be wrong. I mean, that's just not true. No, Jedi Survivor did have some really, really cool elements to it. I never put down. What was your favorite stance in Jedi Survivor?
I switched between the Darth Maul blade, the what is that called? It's not the dual blade, because the dual blade is when you're double wheeling, right?
Yeah, it would be called a twin blade in Elden Ring. I don't know what they call it.
I don't know what it's called. It's Darth Maul's double, the pole, whatever. I like that, and I like the dual wielding when you had the two sabers. I just like the animations and stuff they had when you would take out guys. It was really cool.
Well, yeah, they call it twin blade here on this article. Single blade, dual blade, one from each end of the central hilt, and then twin blade is one in each hand. But the twin blades in Elden Ring, that's so weird, because when people did Darth Maul builds in Elden Ring, that was the twin blade. So they've got it. I don't know. They got that one backwards. Anyways,
I did use the blaster a bit, but I took it off. I thought it was too easy, like with the blaster and the sword. I don't know why.
I had, basically from the time I had them to the end of the game, I used crossguard and the blaster stance. That's all I needed.
The blaster stance I used for quite a bit, but then I got rid of it because I was just like, this seems too easy. I don't know. But I was also playing on a normal difficulty. I wasn't playing on a higher end difficulty.
I played on normal as well, and I felt like crossguard was really strong. Like, you could really break posture fast with it if you were aggressive. Like, I think sometimes maybe I was a little bit too aggressive. Like, I played kind of headstrong and took a lot of damage. But I wasn't... I played Jedi Fallen Order on normal, and then I played it on, like, a harder difficulty. I didn't do that this time. I just played this on normal, and that's all I did.
Right, I just played through the story normal, and then I put it down, moved on to the next game, which I think was Diablo when it came out.
Yeah. Now, in the realm of like events and announcements, was there any event, any announcement, anything that any trailers that hit this year that in your mind are like the standout?
There was a couple I can't even think of them off the top of my head. One was for the day before. No, I'm kidding. One of the trailers I was interested in is what no light fire, is that what it's called from Hello Games?
No fire.
Yeah, light no fire. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on our podcast. I was like, it's interesting. I'm a skeptic of it a little bit because I think it takes place in the same type of timeline as No Man's Sky, like in the same universe or whatever it is. The way they cut the trailer is very similar to what they did with No Man's Sky, right? The way it's cut, the way it looks. The logo at the end, when they show the hand coming up and looking at the Atlas type of thing, it similarly looks like the Atlas from No Man's Sky. So I wonder if there's some sort of cross between there. But I'm interested in that because I like those open world, exploration games. I'm playing Lord of the Rings, Moria, Return to Moria. I'm playing Lego Fortnite. I played Valheim. I played Minecraft. I played No Man's Sky. So those all like hit for me. So I'm interested in that. I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by, even though people are giving it crap, a lot of the trailers they're showing for, I have to be careful what I say because I was in the closed test, but Suicide Squad looks interesting to me because I'm interested in the story elements of that game, and some of the story elements or some of the videos they showed, I was just like, I'm intrigued by that, so I'm excited for that game to come out next year. This year, earlier in the year, when they showed Star Wars Outlaws, I was all in on that. When they first showed that, I mean, it was at the end of last year, but the beginning of this year as well, when they did the extended version. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I don't know if that game's coming out in 2024. I think it got pushed back, but I'm super. That's my main one next year. That or Transformers Reactivate, but we don't know anything more about that since last year. So
yeah, I definitely on the subject of Light No Fire. Well, hang on a second, Momo the Cow. Thank you so much for a $5 super chat. He says, do not hesitate having a whole segment on Sekiro, most fun game of all time. Thank you for the stream. I did a playthrough of that game. My first playthrough of Sekiro is on this channel, and my 5-hour fight with Ishin is it's legendary. It's really, really good. But on the subject of Light No Fire, I just did a show on that this week. I kind of waited to talk about it. And the reason I waited is I wanted to really think about and look at what everybody was saying. And generally speaking, I argued I think it's the next big game. I don't think it's just like the next big game from Hello Games. I think this is going to be another impactful game the way No Man's Sky initially obviously got a lot of grief, but I would say it's been an impactful game. And because I think when a game like Starfield comes out from a game company the size of Bethesda and it immediately is compared to No Man's Sky, that's a huge feather in Sean Murray and the team at Hello Games cap to stand that tall. And in my estimation, he stood tall at the Game Awards. Like, I think they outshined all the other games and all the other platforms and all the other announcements. Like, that was the biggest trailer there, I think. And they're like 30-something people size studio.
Well, only 12 people are working on that game, though. 12 people.
Well, and I don't think that's going to stay that way. So my theory is No Man's Sky is going to get a bunch of content next year to sort of set it up to be supported by like a live team. I think they'll still do expeditions, but I think they're going to pivot a lot of people to Light No Fire next year. I think that game is likely coming in 2025, and
I don't think they're going to pivot. I think they're going to keep supporting No Man's Sky because that's sci-fi, and what they're doing now is fantasy, right? Light No Fire is fantasy. You see the rabbits and like the different like characters you can be. That's definitely more fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons, elemental type of stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I think they're going for a different group because there's some people that just don't like sci-fi.
Sure.
And I think the people that don't like No Man's Sky, this is that answer to for that.
Well, and the thing is that the reason I think they're going to pivot is I don't know if they want to just continually pour that much bandwidth into No Man's Sky for forever. I feel like eventually they'll have to shift down. I mean, if they want to build and support Light No Fire, they're either going to have to move people over to it or hire new talent, because I don't know how you build a game like that without more than 12 people. I mean, that's insane. And the crazy thing he said, and I missed this because I was just so excited that he was there, that they've already been working on it for 5 years.
Yeah. Meaning it's coming out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Todd was calling Sean the Joe Danger guy. Yeah, what did you think about the fact that it seemed like Sean Murray was taking some shots? Like, not mean, but like taking some shots at Starfield and Todd Howard.
I mean, what you mean Sean Howard was taking, or Sean Howard, Jesus Christ, Sean Murray was taking shots at Todd Howard?
Well, I didn't think he was, because he said like he stressed that it was going to be the first real open world, and he said like no boundaries, and a lot of people thought he was like taking a dig. I said no.
I don't think that was a dig.
Well, hang on a minute though, because I said the same thing, and then I went to Twitter, and Sean Murray tweeted out a picture of a bag of Starfield Doritos, and he said "so hungry." He said "so hungry." And then he posed pictures twice with Todd Howard, like making jokes, like he's hanging out with Todd Howard. I think he was playfully being like, "You tried to make a space game, okay? We're gonna try and make an open world game now." Like I feel like it's playful. It's not mean spirited at all.
That's true because they made Fallout 76, right? And that was so that's a joke in itself. And then No Man's Sky was also a joke for a period of time, right?
Well, and Russell's making a great point in chat. He talked about going up a mountain, which was very Todd. He said these aren't going to be video game mountains. They're going to be like real-size mountains.
Real-size mountains. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe Sean looks up to Todd for what he says. You know, the 16 times the detail, the more 1,000 planets or whatever. So maybe they're trying to outdo it. I mean, 1,000 planets is way smaller than No Man's Sky. You know what I mean? So was it like 1 quintillion or something like that? Cotillion inside of No Man's Sky. I didn't think it was a shot. I didn't when I read it. I also though don't think it was a shot. What Chris Judd did when his Call of Duty joke, I thought was literally the perfect joke. It worked out from beginning to end. It was a perfect joke, and people took offense to that, which I don't know if you did or not. But I was just like that's literally a perfect joke. Like from top to bottom, perfect.
Well, and I got pretty annoyed. Like we're going to get into this a little bit when we talk about the Game Awards, but on that subject specifically, I got really annoyed. I saw people claiming that was Christopher Judge attacking devs. I was like, what? No. Like, it was a joke.
Self-deprecating own joke.
Right, it was a joke. He was making fun of himself. And yes. And secondly, the joke is that the Call of Duty campaign is short, and it is.
Correct.
And I said, it's a greater insult to sell that at full price anyway. Like, y'all sold a DLC for $70. Why don't you, take a little humble pie and sit down? Like, you don't get sympathy because, listen, I love John Linneman from Digital Foundry. He got on my tweet about this, and he said it was a really crappy situation for the team because leadership decided to do this, and the devs were obviously probably not thrilled about having their, wait, we remastered Modern Warfare 2 maps, and we made a couple of missions, and you want to sell this at a full price? Sure. I love Linneman. I love his ability to, look at a situation like that and be like, oh, it kind of sucks for the devs. I can admit that and say, yeah, that does suck for the devs, but that doesn't mean you attack Christopher Judge, be like, and cast it as he's attacking developers. He didn't attack anybody.
The best is, right, if a comedian came out and made that joke, it wouldn't hit as hard because they didn't have an 8-minute long speech the year before.
Exactly.
Right? It was like a full thing, and then they even poked fun of him while he was up there as a presenter. They started playing the outro music while he was on stage, and he was like, "You mother," right?
Yeah.
And he was like, and then he's like, "Well, at least my speech was still longer than the Call of Duty campaign," right? And obviously their campaign's not 8 minutes long, so to get offended by an 8-minute long, I was like, that was a perfect joke. I was like, nobody else could have said that joke. He had to say that joke. I was like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
If it was just a couple days earlier, he could have made the same joke, but instead of doing it for Call of Duty, he could have said, at least my speech was longer than the day before. See, it would have worked just the same.
It would have
just the same.
It would have. What a joke! The thing that irritates me about that. Hang on, I have to thank a couple people. Lone Wolf get a $2 super chat, and he says, "Is Starfield still an all-time game for you, Mike?" I guess yes or no. Is it still an all-time game for you?
I don't remember ever saying it was my all-time on anything. I just said I really enjoyed it. I don't remember saying it was an all-time, but yeah, I still loved the 167 hours I put into it.
Wow.
And I still haven't beat the main campaign. I stopped. I have to go back and finish the main campaign. I love the side quests and everything.
I love that people had that good of a time in it. I'm jealous. I really am, because I just didn't get very far because I was like, oh, I'm starting to enjoy it, and like I said, I played Phantom Liberty, and JW with 34 months and a VIP Plus is almost 3 years. Crazy how time flies, brother. Appreciate your content. And then thank you so much, Ravenstorm, for upgrading to VIP. Yeah, if you guys want to preemptively upgrade to VIP, we do one VIP stream a week. It'll be after this show, and we are pushing for 200 members today. You guys already got us to 88, and I've gifted some back as a thank you. And the day before situation, I mean, you want to talk about something that happened this year that was crazy. I couldn't believe, even at the end, I had people
defending it,
being angry with me and saying, you're being too harsh. You should feel bad for the devs. I was like, are you insane? They lied time and time again. They tried to scam the public. And even now, we don't know if they're truly going to make no money, because in one day, they sold over 200,000 units. There were over 100,000 units refunded in the first day. So if 100,000 sales stick at $40 a pop, they could still stand to make millions of dollars.
Sure.
Now they said that, Steam's going to refund no matter how long anybody's played. And okay, great, but that doesn't mean everybody knows to. That doesn't mean everybody is going to. There still could be 50-something thousand, 60, 70-something thousand people that just never refund it. Because you know how people are. They buy the game, they'll play it a bunch day one, and maybe they think their computer sucks or the internet sucks, and they just won't try to refund. A lot of people just throw it over their shoulder and move on. Not everybody is going to immediately go refund. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Only 50% of the people that bought it refunded within the first day, and it immediately had a 19% score, and nobody else was buying it. So that shows you that not everybody's instinct is to immediately refund a really bad game.
Right, or buy a really bad game.
Right. Some of the takes on Twitter, I thought people were memeing. I had guys saying these people don't deserve their money back. They need to take this L and learn this lesson. Don't pre-order games. And I'm like, they didn't pre-order.
There was no pre-ordering. It was literally day one buy.
Yeah, it was early access on a game that was the most wishlisted game on Steam, which means a ton of people saw dope trailers, They wishlist, they get a little ping in their email, and then they come and buy the game. Like, they're not watching my stream. They're not watching Twitter to be like, oh, this game is fake, this game is a scam. So it's like, I couldn't believe the fact that people were not just immediately take these guys to the woodshed. Like, what's the point? What are we doing here? I'm glad that this is going to sound so weird. Like, I'm glad it was so bad that nobody could even attempt to defend it. Because that was my biggest concern is, like, it's going to be just good enough that people are going to try to defend it as a real game. And I'm like, it's a fake game. It's been a fake game since moment one.
Yep. 5 years. They said they worked on it for 5 years. It was funny that the day it came out, I had my dentist and stuff. I couldn't do anything. So on Monday, this Monday, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I start my show. And the first subject I talked about was the day before. I was like, these guys are scammers, they're snake oil salesmen, their whole company needs to be shut down. And some people were like, well, that's a little harsh. And I was like, I end my stream at 12 o'clock, an hour and a half later on Twitter, they shut down. I was like, man, that manifestation really fast, huh? Like an hour and a half after I said they should close shop, they did.
Well, I had an upload that we had recorded because I was like, I want to talk about it because I had played it. So I uploaded it, and I basically argued that it was still a fake game. I said, I know they shipped something. I said, but this is not what they showed us for all this time, all these years.
No.
And I said, when they were accused of not making a game, they never once showed us raw gameplay. Not once. And then, in the wake of the game launching, they were trying to remove MMO from the tags and the description of the game because it clearly wasn't going to be an MMO. It was some extraction mode they built in probably 6 months. There's a guy right now, he's rebuilding the game by going and buying the assets from the Unreal Store, and he's basically already got the game close to completion in just a couple of days. So it's like, if this took you guys 5 years to build, I mean, you just took basic assets and slapped them together. There was it was the American Cities pack from Unreal that they bought, and when you go look at the screenshots, they made no changes. Like, the city that you were running around in is literally that pack. Like, they made no changes. Just an absolute joke.
You know what's funny? Last night, Sarge, we were talking about the day before, and then we talked about the game Once Human. Have you seen this yet?
I have not.
Okay, Once Human is basically everything that Day Before was supposed to be, and 1,000 times more. Now, this company, when it's in early access right now, right? And it's I think it's a beta. It's you can get the codes or whatever. It's open to the end of the month or whatever. And they came out December 6th and opened it up to people. And I didn't think about this. And Sarge was like, he's like, do you think they knew that game was going to bomb so bad? And they did all the advertising. No one's advertised Once Human, right? And then all of a sudden, the day they came out the 6th, no advertisement. The 7th, Day Before came out, bombed 4 days later, and then everyone just kind of moved over from the Day Before to Once Human. You should check it out. Once Human. I can't get in, but I watched the video from Reforge Gaming and a bunch of other people playing it. It's pretty wicked. Like, it's like dark horror. Open world, you can build buildings. There's a skill trees. You have powers like 11 from like Stranger Things. Like, you can like move things. It's pretty cool looking. And I'm like, where did this come from? Out of like nowhere. Meanwhile, most wish list thing. Okay, and I don't think these guys worked on it for 5 years. So to see what they said they worked on for 5 years, and then you see what this game did, you're like, what in the world? There's no way. No way. There's some really, really cool stuff from inside the game of Once Human.
Well, we talked about the games that you played and some of the announcements and stuff and some of the blunders this year. Is there anything that got added to your backlog? Because I've definitely got some games that I had to throw into the backlog because I was like, I just don't have time for this. I don't have time to finish it.
I'm not one to usually do backlog. When I buy a game, I play the crap out of it, and then I move on to the next one. And that's the way I play. So I honestly don't have a game in my backlog right now. I'm like looking at my screen right now. No. I'm playing Fortnite right now, the Lego Fortnite. That's my main thing that I've been doing all week. The next game that comes out, I couldn't even tell you what the next game that comes out, like first part of the year. I mean, I think it's Suicide Squad. I think that's the earliest I'm looking to get something to put my time into.
Well, I had to put Burning Shores on my backlog. That was the DLC for Horizon Forbidden West because I wasn't strong enough. Like, I had to kind of rush Forbidden West when I played it because Elden Ring was coming out. And so that got put on the backlog, and Assassin's Creed Mirage got put on the backlog. I was really liking that, but I just couldn't keep playing it. I had to, as soon as other games come out, it's like you have to move in the coverage and play something else. And basically, I had to play Jedi Survivor once they fixed it. I couldn't put down Phantom Liberty. I was moving through Final Fantasy 16, but once I got into newer areas and more populated areas, I've moved that to the backlog because I really want a performance mode patch. I don't think I'm going to get one, sadly.
My problem is I don't have backlogs. I have games that I've played a lot of, and then they do an update. Like Sea of Thieves did an update. I got to go back and do the Sea of Thieves with my son because now they have the Safe at Seas or whatever, so we can actually play together. So like I want to go check that out. They've updated BattleBit Remastered. I don't know if you played that. They did a couple updates with that. They did some updates to Starship Troopers. That's another game I've played a ton of, and then I want to go back and play. What else is it? I mean, Diablo 4 I won't touch again till like Season 4 because that game's just not done. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, like they're constantly updating that. So to go back in there and play that more. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, everything else is just waiting. I mean, I'm in a holding pattern.
Do you have a big disappointment this year? Was there a game that came out that you just, you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and you've put it down?
I'm looking at the list in front of me. Oh, yeah, there is one. Dead Island. I played Dead Island. I wasn't a big Dead Island fan. I got a code for it, and I played it, and I was just disappointed in it because, like, you could beat every boss by standing on a box, right? Like, you would just stand on a box and then just swing your axe or bat or whatever, and you would kill the boss. And everyone's like, well, why would you stand on a box? I'm like, the problem is, why can I stand on a box and kill the boss, right? Not why am I, right? And that really, like, rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, it was fun, but it was kind of a disappointment. That, and I guess Redfall, but I wasn't expecting anything from Redfall. Going into it, I was like, yeah, this is not going to be good, right? So I'm trying to think of anything else. Diablo 4, I enjoyed the story, and I put 168 hours into it, but I'm disappointed in the end game, So not really disappointed in the game itself, but I was disappointed in the end game of Diablo 4.
Yeah, Diablo 4 is mine. Like, because I obviously was pretty Diablo, Starfield, and Jedi Survivor were like my big anticipated games alongside of Spider-Man. So I kind of had like a pretty eclectic list of games. And, Starfield was pretty disappointing. I was really hoping that game would have been excellent. There's a short on my channel that I was defending Starfield really early on, because right after that first time they showed the game, it was immediately getting compared to No Man's Sky and being like criticized because you couldn't like land on the planets and take off from the planets or whatever it was, where it was it was indicated that like you weren't going to be able to do that. And I remember being like, wait a minute. In the first 12 hours, everybody was saying it looked like ugly No Man's Sky. And then when they found out it wasn't exactly like No Man's Sky, that it was being criticized for that. And it just felt absolutely schizophrenic. I was like, okay, come on. Pick a thing that you're going to criticize it for. Is it too much like No Man's Sky or not enough? And I was defending it in the very early days, and people keep replying to that short, and they keep calling me an X-bot. Like, they're basically, like, making fun of me. They're like, look at this fanboy. And I was like, no, I was looking forward to the game. Like, I thought it was going to be awesome, right? And then as we got closer to it, and I was concerned about performance, and then once I got into the game, it was more than that. It was just like the systems felt dated and unrefined. Well, now, now I'm a hater. And it's like, it's been such a trip. Like, it's been such a journey covering that game, because like now my old content's like coming back to haunt me. Like, how dare I be excited for the game and defend it? But I don't think I would put that at the top of my most disappointing list, because I feel like I could still probably go back and have a reasonable time with it.
Yeah.
And I can't say that for Diablo. Like, Diablo just really, just utterly disappointed me. I was thinking, okay, a couch co-op game to play with my wife. This is going to be so much fun. And then you and I did that show, and it was like, Diablo 4 is boring. I still think that might be you and I's most watched show. I think that's our most watched show because it just struck a chord with people. That usually when you and I do a show like this, it'll get total views, 3,000 to 5,000 views. That thing's got 13,000 views because people were like, they were looking for, hey man, this game's boring, bro.
Diablo 4 is like that meme with John Travolta from Pulp Fiction, where he's like
walking around,
like what's happening? Like what is happening here? Like we got to the end of the game and you were like, all right, what do we do now? Like it's like, well, there's so much to do. There's the Tree of Whispers, and then you can go do these things. And then you're like, but I'm only doing the dungeons, and I'm doing only like one particular dungeon, and then you're only going to get to level 100 so you can kill Uber Lilith. Okay, great. What else is there? They're like, but we have season 1, and then 1 week into season 1, they were already hyping up season 2, and it's like, really? I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, I knew it was bad when the first season had just started, and they're like, let's talk about season 2. It's like, what? I don't think I've ever seen this before. So that was
move, Cotton.
Yeah. I actually think my other big disappointment this year. Thank you, Magic Dolphin, so much for gifting a member. You got us almost 10 away from the halfway point here. Thank you very much. I also think one of the big disappointments I had this year was Jedi Survivor. Like, it really shouldn't have launched in the way that it did, and it really has me concerned about the next game. I really am.
Yeah, but at least you enjoyed it. See, I got burnt by Cyberpunk, right? So I didn't purchase Cyberpunk, right, when it first came out, but I had a mod of mine who bought it for me, and I just didn't like the way it came out. Never booted it up, never even downloaded it. Okay, I did not like the way it came out because it was broken, buggy, and unfinished when they said it wasn't going to be that way, right? And I don't have a problem with Cyberpunk itself. I have a problem with CD Projekt Red the way they did it. So I'm kind of like boycotting it, right? And Phantom Liberty is a fantastic game. I watch people play it, and I'm like, it does look good. But I refuse to play the game because now 3 years later, it's an amazing game, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, Jedi Survivor burnt you, where you're like, I'm so disappointed. It shouldn't have launched the way it did. And now you played it, and you're like, this is an excellent game, right? I haven't taken that plunge. I can't go back. And I said it last night or yesterday on a stream. I said, I'm just going to wait until like their next game comes out, and it'll be like a reset for me. Like, oh, what's CD Projekt Red's next game? I'll be like, all right, I'm going to get that and start from the beginning. I just can't get into it. It's, you asked me what my backlog was. That's the one game that's on my backlog that I don't know if I'll ever touch. It just sits there, and I've never downloaded it.
Well, and that's a subject that comes up a lot, especially with Light No Fire and No Man's Sky. The idea that, because a lot of people have said what you said, but they say it about No Man's Sky. They're like, right. I can't do it. And I'm like, it's a completely different game. They gave 7 years of free updates, and
well, great. Then I'll wait 5 more years, I guess.
Well, no, I meant No Man's Sky gave 7
No,
years.
I know. That's what I'm saying, though. Maybe I'll wait for 4 more years for Cyberpunk to do another DLC or whatever and make it even better.
And I hear where you're coming from, because I false started with Cyberpunk so many times because it was like, it wasn't just the glitches and the bugs. It just the start is just it's super slow. It's super plotting, and the Defense Force fans always come out and tell me how wrong I am. But I'm like, dude, I've had big fans of that game admit it starts out slow. The first 5 hours just aren't paced all that well. And I'm telling you, I played the first 2 hours of Phantom Liberty, and I said, this is how you open a game. Like, this is how you get me in.
Correct, but that's 3 years later you're getting excited. Like, they made it awesome with it, right? You're saying? So, like, people in chat, right? TJ Rage is like, but you played Starfield for 140 hours. Yeah, but Starfield didn't come out and tell me it wasn't going to launch in a broken... Like, CD Projekt Red literally came out and said, we are not going to launch like those other games. We're not going to launch it until it's a done game, right? And then they did the complete opposite, where the guy came out and he looked so depressed standing in front of that camera going, we apologize for doing what we did. And like I'm not mad at Cyberpunk. I'm mad at the company that sold me a bill of goods. Like, if you go to a restaurant, if you go buy a car, if you go buy anything, and someone says this is the best thing ever, and you drive it off the lot and the wheels fall off, and they're like, well, it just wasn't ready yet. Come back in 3 years. We'll fix it, right? That's what I'm upset about, right? Starfield didn't lie to me, right? Sean Murray lied back at No Man's Sky. CD Projekt lied about Cyberpunk when it came out. This doesn't take anything away from people that are loving Cyberpunk and love Phantom Liberty and enjoy the last 3 years. But in that sentence, it's good now 3 years later. That's the problem. That's the problem. And there's so many other problems in the industry like that.
I don't disagree. I think this is a great debate. We can do this before we go to the Game Awards and talk about it. Aaron Claypool with 17 months says, if you like good games, 2023 was epic. If you like bad games, 2023 was equally epic. Gollum, Kong, Walking Dead, and the day before. That's good. That's good. Here's my pushback. We don't live in a perfect world or a perfect reality. So there are going to be games that launch that just something bad happened. Leadership was bad, the vision was bad, the publisher pushed it or whatever. And if a company's going to do 7 years of free updates to No Man's Sky or 2 to 3 years of free updates to Cyberpunk, even the big patch they pushed out with Phantom Liberty was free. You don't have to buy Phantom Liberty to have all the system overhauls. It's all free. I can't look at that and say, well, I don't want to support that because of how the game launched, because I don't agree with the idea, and you're not saying this, but there have been people that have said this over the years, like, well, if we support that, we're going to encourage games to launch crap and then they'll fix it later. And I'm like, the problem with that is there are games that have launched crap, tried to fix it later, and they've suffered like financial ruin. Like, I don't think that people are going to use this as a business strategy. You know, let's just launch crap and you can fix it later. Look at Cyberpunk. It's like, well, look at their stock value. They've suffered significant financial harm because of that disaster. They've not really fully recovered from that. Even still, their share value is still below where it was. And so I'm in full support of, if a game launches and they commit and they dig in and they do enough, I'll come back around. It does take quite a bit for me to do that.
Yeah, but when someone's asking me, do I not believe in second chances? It all depends on what the scenario is. The scenario of Cyberpunk from CD Projekt Red was they lied straight up and said we weren't going to release a broken, buggy game. We're not going to be like the other guys. And then they did, right? That is the absolute bottom of the barrel. That's just like saying, hey, yeah, they lied. They straight up lied to you. For me personally, if you guys like it, you guys can play it. Me not paying for it is not hurting them. They literally sold 8 million copies before it launched, and they sold an additional 5 million after they heard it was broke. Okay, it went on to sell like 25 million or 30 million copies total since that time, right? So how does me not giving them a second chance, this particular company a second chance? And the second chance would be me not trying Cyberpunk 2077. The second chance would be the next game that comes out, if it's Witcher 4, and then I go, hey, you know what? That looks interesting. I'm going to buy it. That's the second chance, because now I'm going back to the company that lied to me the last time and giving them a shot again.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there are some pretty good questions in chat, too. I mean, I guess my first question before we go to chat's questions for you is, if let's say the next trailer and announcement comes out for The Witcher and you think that looks excellent, I'm going to play that, would you buy it, or would you sit back and say, no, I'm not supporting the company?
Well, I usually don't buy any games pre-order. Anyone that watches my streams knows I don't pre-order games. I buy it day one, and leading up to that, there'll be people like yourself that get early access, play games. I watch them, make my own decision, not based on their opinion, but based on me watching the gameplay and going, you know what, that looks interesting. I think I'll give it a shot. Right? That's where I'm at that.
Okay. So you would be willing to buy it though. You're not saying I will never support them ever again. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't hold grudges. No, I don't hold grudges.
People are asking about you jumping back in with like Battlefield or even Starfield. A lot of people feel like Starfield was very, very grossly misrepresented. I guess what's your response to the Battlefield question? I think I know what you're going to say. You had already bought it, right? But then with Starfield, what's your thought on the fact that the marketing just did not line up with what they delivered?
Battlefield, I didn't buy. I played the beta, the 10-day, whatever they did when the early beta process. And when we played the beta on stream, I said that this game's a pile of crap. I will not be playing it when it comes out, and I won't play it until it comes to Game Pass. Didn't touch it. I had the 10 hours free on EA Play. Okay, I used an hour and a half of it the very first time when it first came out on day one. I went, nope, broke, buggy, done. Didn't touch it until November of last year, 2022, when it came to Game Pass day one. I went, oh, it's on Game Pass, we'll play it. And I gave it a shot. I didn't put $70. I didn't put $100. I didn't put $150 towards it. I played it just on Game Pass, right? Now, Starfield. I didn't buy Starfield. Starfield was given to me on a code, right? And I played 167 hours of it. Okay? I didn't put my money towards it. Did I enjoy it? Sure. Now, if I did buy it, would I have put that much time into it? Probably, because I enjoy that type of game. Okay? But I didn't buy any of these games because I didn't have to. One, for Starfield, because it was on Game Pass, and Battlefield was a broken, buggy game. And I didn't buy it because I don't give companies money when their game comes out broken, buggy.
Okay. I mean, I think all that's fair. I think the Battlefield pushback is extremely fair. You were like, I played it on Game Pass. With Starfield, do you agree with the assessment that the marketing was not in line with what they delivered?
What they said in the marketing and what my expectations were and what other people's expectations were, I said from the very start, I said 1,000 planets. That's ridiculous. I was like, who's gonna do that? If you go look at the achievement on the achievement list on Xbox, I think it's like, 4%, 3% of the people went to like the 1,000 planets or whatever it is, right? Out of what? They say 10 million, 15 million people that played or logged in or whatever. I said, that's ridiculous, right? So, another game to add to Mike's list is Fallout 76. Fallout 76 was given to me, and I played it for 82 hours and didn't have any problems with it until 82 hours. And then the whole game literally melted down and crashed, and I couldn't get out of my suit of armor or interact with anything in the game. And then I kind of put it down. I didn't touch it again. Okay. What was I saying as far as we were just talking about?
Just redemption, second chances, what games you support. Like, would you... and Eugene is drawing a distinction. He's saying, listen, Starfield did not withhold reviews from the public. They didn't intentionally try to hide their game from the public, and they weren't removed from stores. Like, yeah, Cyberpunk was pretty extreme example of a bad launch. I don't think Starfield launched. I'm not trying to say Starfield and Cyberpunk are equal. I don't think people in chat were trying to say they were equal. I think they were drawing that line of, the marketing for Cyberpunk felt very misleading, and a lot of people felt similarly that Starfield's marketing was equally misleading.
Right. Well, Paul's saying, right? Rose-tinted glasses, 2077 was removed from the PlayStation Store. Starfield wasn't removed from anybody's store, right? It was a game when it came out. It wasn't in an unplayable state. So
yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I would never try to claim that Starfield's launch was that bad. I tend to agree that the marketing of that game did not line up with what we got.
Oh, that's what you were saying. Like, was the marketing? My expectations are different than a lot of people, right? I've been playing games. I'm 45. I've been playing games since I was 3 years old. I've seen a lot of things. So when someone sells me on something, like, I'm not hyped up for. Someone saw Blade and they're like, oh my God, I can't wait for it. They're imagining what the game is. And I'm like, it's so far off. Or even Grand Theft Auto. I don't get hyped up for stuff like that. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. I'm interested in it. I'll talk about it. But I don't get these expectations in my head where when it comes out, my expectations are way above of what they're actually selling you. You know what I mean? A lot of people, even with Lego Fortnite, people are right now with Lego Fortnite. They're like, "Oh, I wish I could do this, and this. Imagine if we could do this and this." Right? You were spitballing about Star Wars coming in, right? If Star Wars never came into the Lego Fortnite, you would be disappointed. But if everyone starts to talk it up and be like, "Oh man, Star Wars could be in this," and they never bring Star Wars in, you'd be like, "What a bummer they never brought Star Wars in. That was a fail for them." It's like, is it? They never promised you that, right? You built up your own hype for this game that never said anything about it. I don't know. It's just that's the way I am.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I've always thought that the problem with video game marketing is they show things way too early, and they don't show accurate representations of gameplay. I feel like those are the two biggest mistakes they always make. I think the biggest mistake they always make is they show way too early. It's like, why are we hearing about this, right? Thank you, Risik. Risik's landing the 100 bomb home halfway to our big goal today. That's so kind of you, Risik. I always feel like, you just showed that way too early. Beyond Good and Evil 2, Cyberpunk was shown way too early. I think Hellblade 2 was shown way too early. Like, I just think people get so irritated. They're like, why did you show me this? It's not going to come out for an age. And now I don't think people are doing that. I think they're shortening the marketing cycles. But I think the other mistake is don't show stuff that doesn't line up with what the game's going to be like, because it's going to be brutal. I think the gaming world is A good example would be the day before, right? It's like it was completely misrepresented, and that thing lasted not even 24 hours in Steam. And good,
right.
Get out of here. You're trash. Your game was a lie. The cake is a lie. So in the vein of marketing and showing too much or showing too little, the Game Awards was, in my estimation, the best event, the best Game Awards we've got in the history of the event.
I agree.
And I thought it was probably one of the best live events I've gotten to cover. I feel like every year Keighley stuff gets better, but there was, I think, some room for improvement. And I initially didn't think much of it because I'm there not as a developer. I'm watching as a co-streamer, as a gamer, as a fan. So I'm equally as excited that somebody gets to have their moment because their game won, but I'm also really excited for Sean Murray to show off Light No Fire. Like, it's both. And because people are like, well, the show is supposed to be all about the devs. I'm like, yeah, and there was really small devs and really big devs and people like Sean Murray that got to stand on a huge stage and talk about their game and get a lot of press. And like the one musical group, they're soaring on charts because of the event. And I think that shows that we had a very, very good, and I would say mixed and variety of showcases. What did you think of the criticism of the event? Whiskey Neats pushing the line, dude. Thank you. What did you think of the criticism of the event, though, and that the devs weren't given enough time? There were people calling Keighley a coward, and he didn't have a moral compass to mention the layoffs and stuff. And I thought the criticism was so overstated and it wasn't measured. Now, there was good measured feedback. I feel like Alana Pierce had good feedback. I myself said I don't think they had it structured well. Kojima talked for 8 minutes and he and Jordan Peele didn't say anything. And if you had to cut that in half, you could have given all 10 acceptance speeches another minute and a half each, and that'd have been plenty of time. So where'd you land on that?
I thought, as a gamer, just watching it and only watching the show to see what the new trailers were, right? Because that's basically what you're watching, right? Most people that are not sports fans watch the Super Bowl because they want to watch the commercials, okay? The commercials of this are the video game trailers, okay? That's what you're watching. Every time they go world premiere, whatever, blah, blah, you're watching that. That's why people are mostly tuning in. Not because the presenter comes up and says, best esports coach is, like, they don't care about that, right? The majority of the people don't care about that.
Sure.
This is why they do a pre-show and they give out like 15 awards beforehand. They just kind of like run them down and go, and the winner is, here it is. And they say, they give a speech. This has always been a problem with award shows. Like, I work in the convention sphere over the last 15, 20 years. Like, companies come in, it could be like a pharmaceutical company, and they have their big banquet or whatever, right? And they give awards out, and people come up and they stand and they give their speech to the people. Thanks for this, thanks for that, thanks for supporting us, whatever. And no one cares about that because that's a private event, and they're just doing it for the people that are in the industry itself. Who's the best salesperson? Who's the best thing? Whatever, right? None of us care because we're not interested in that field. Now you bring it to film, you bring it to music, you bring it to video games. The Oscars used to be the exact same thing. It used to be a banquet hall where people came in, the directors, the best actors, the best cinematographers, and they fluffed up each other, right? Who's the best in the business? Who am I working with next? And then they went, what about if we televise this, right? And they televised it, and then they can make more money on top of this, and that's what the Oscars turned into more and more over the years. Now, the Video Game Awards show, all you got to see is the tweet that he put out yesterday, where he said we had 118 million people. It's a 15% increase from year over year, right? And I went, and that is what the Video Game Awards show is. It has nothing to do with the devs. It has nothing to do with the industry. It's taking advantage of the industry because it's a multi-billion-dollar business, right? And Keighley has all eyes on him. So yes, he can get all the developers in the same room. He can get all these things, but what pays the bills is the people putting the trailers and the advertisers that are putting onto the platform, right? And that's where they make their money, because now next year he can raise the price. You want to show your trailer on the Game Awards? We got 118 million or 120 million people that are watching this show. That price goes up. So it's all about the business aspect of that. Now, as a person that's in the industry, and I love listening to people that worked for 5 years and didn't see their children, and they didn't get a vacation, and they worked their ass off for 5 years to make a video game. I want to hear his speech. I want to hear that stuff. But a lot of people will look at that and go, oh, it's so boring, right? You know what was boring? Simu Liu coming out talking about his broken ankle. Okay, like I didn't care about that. Like, you don't need to come out and talk about that, right? You give an extra couple of seconds about the guy. How about the composer who died, okay, while making the actual game, and 5 months ago or whatever, and they wanted to say thank you to him and his family, right? This is supposed to be their moment, and yet they get 30 seconds, and the TV screen in the back says, hey, wrap it up. Now, that's not new. That's at every award show, right?
Sure,
Wrap it up, right? Because if they sat there and let everyone speak for 20 minutes, it'd be like a 15-hour long award show. But I think Keighley has to do a better job of making it more about the developers than more about the trailers. Make it longer, give a couple more trailers and push them back one by one after, instead of doing the awards, like best esports, best coach, best ongoing game, like real fast. Instead of doing that, how about you show trailer after trailer after trailer, and then give some time for the people to speak on stage when they win?
Yeah, I mean, you and I both know if they just went trailer after trailer after trailer, though, the people paying for those spots would probably feel a little miffed, because that kind of takes the wind out of the sails. Like, if your trailer's sandwiched in a bunch of others, you want people to feel like their money was well spent. And I feel like he's probably walking a tightrope here of managing the time, managing the budget, letting celebrities feel like, you know, I guess Alana Pierce said it felt like a lot of star effing. And it's like, well, yeah. Like, what do you... this event only works if you have the prestige, the celebrities, and the big trailers and the big ads, because that's how you pay for it. And I think a lot of people were arguing against a straw man to a certain degree. They were saying this is supposed to be all about the devs, and it wasn't. It's never stated anywhere that it's all about the devs. If you go to the Game Awards website and you click on the About section, it says the Game Awards recognizes and upholds creative and technical excellence in the global video game industry. We bring together a diverse group of game developers, game players, and notable names from popular culture to celebrate and advance gaming's position as the most immersive, challenging, and inspiring form of entertainment. We strive to recognize those who improve the well-being of the community and elevate voices that represent the future of the medium. Keighley did that in spades because he promoted artists that are not that well known. They get to be on a massive stage, these musicians. He's promoting studios, developers that are teeny tiny, right? You know, and super small with small marketing spend, and he gives them that stage. And I think the only thing he's guilty of is having a little bit too much of a bromance with Kojima and giving him undue time. Like, if you have nothing to say and nothing to show, you don't get 8 minutes. That just is ridiculous. Sean Murray had an entire History of No Man's Sky trailer and a debut trailer of Light No Fire and an interview, and he was on stage for less time. His block of time was only 6 minutes. Right. And it's like, that's way more effective, and he actually had stuff to show. And so I think if he's guilty of anything, that's the only thing he's guilty of, because if he would have given Kojima less time, they would have been able to say, all right, all 10 acceptance speeches can be a minute and a half, and at the 30-second mark, you start the music to get them out. And so at most, they're up there for 2 minutes. I showed my chat yesterday how long a minute and a half is. I made a mock acceptance speech, and when I got to a minute and a half, it was like, what else is there to say? Like, I've already said so much.
Right.
It can definitely drone on. I mean, if anybody has proven that, Chris Judge proved that you can go way too long with an acceptance speech and turn it into like a life documentary all of a sudden. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So I think the criticisms were largely overstated, which I was frustrated by. I was like, this guy has built this thing that makes gaming look like a very respectable, high production industry, and you guys are all turning on him and calling and being very judgmental. It got very like self-righteous, and it's like, yo, what he's doing is good for all of us. Like, what's going on here? Like, what he's doing is good for the gaming press, right? Like, he has this 200 jury process of, you know, everybody that's involved gets to vote or whatever. I mean, can you imagine saying that your outlet is one of the jury members of the Game Awards in 5 years when it's even bigger than it is now? I mean, if I was Keighley, I'd say, if I'm a coward and don't have a moral compass, we appreciate your involvement, but we don't need you to be involved anymore, you know?
Yeah, but you know what looks bad, though? The Game of the Year, right? Which is the big award that everyone wants to know. And he comes up and doesn't have enough time to say anything, and then he has to post it on the internet days later. That looks bad on Keeley. I don't care what anyone says. That looks terrible for the show. That looks terrible for everything, right? I understand that, time's time, but they're not on broadcast television. They're on the internet. They don't have time slots like they did before where they had to keep moving because the next program starts at midnight, okay? They're on their own channel. The Video Game Award YouTube channel that everyone is streaming, they make their own time. They could literally go over 3.5 hours. They could go to 4 hours if they wanted to, okay? But they choose to keep making these shows like traditional television, which blows my mind. Disney does it with their streaming service. They keep doing shows 22 minutes, 44 minutes, whatever it is. Like, you have no commercials. You do not need to run ads. People pay subscription models for that. You don't need to run ads. This is their own channel. They make ad revenue off of that when people are going to go watch it. Right now, he's making money. Right now, people are going back and watching that broadcast, and they're still making revenue off of that video, right? So,
I mean, I don't agree that they don't have to run ads during the event.
No, what I'm saying is they don't need to limit themselves to, this is 3 hours, that's it, because there's a next show coming. There's nothing on after this. This is their own dedicated YouTube channel. You see what I'm saying?
I don't agree, because I don't think you can tell your production staff and the crew and everybody involved that, like, yeah, we're just going to kind of go till whenever. Like, you have to have a stop time. You have to, like,
of course you have to have a stop time. What I'm saying is they don't have to keep it traditionally like regular television. You don't have to keep it at a 3 hour mark. Plus, they pay their day rate. It's not like they're sitting there. When you're paid, you're not paid there for 5 hours. You're paid to be there all day. They're there 12 hours before the show even starts. Make sure everything's working.
Sure. And I don't disagree that they could be more flexible. I just think that I actually felt like the guy for Game of the Year did get an ample amount of time, and they did say they loosened up and they were giving people more time near the end. He admitted that he had just forgotten to say things. Like, he got flustered. He was supposed to announce that Baldur's Gate 3 was coming to Xbox, and he completely forgot. I didn't actually feel like that the Game of the Year winner got rushed. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch it, but they even said that they were trying to loosen up on the wrap it up thing because they were getting negative feedback. People were like, my gosh, that person was up there for 30 seconds. What was that? Like, they were trying to adapt on the fly. And I think it's such an expensive event. They're probably, again, there's a tight line here of you got to have so much time for the ads and everything, and it's a highly tightly wound drum. And I just feel like they were a little too tight on the acceptance speeches because there were no technical problems, there was no dead air, there was no sound glitches. Everybody walked out on cue. Like, it was a pretty well-oiled machine, maybe a little too well-oiled, so that people could have a little bit more time. And people are saying no Muppets. Yeah, we could probably do without the Muppets.
Here's the thing, though. It's on YouTube. Right now, if you're late to the show, and we've been talking for like an hour and a half, you could put it on 1.5 speed, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 2.0, right? Like, it's on YouTube. It's not on television. You're not have to watch it live. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to keep it. Everyone's like, well, it's too long already. Skip. Go where you want. Watch what you want to watch. You don't have to watch the whole show in its entirety from beginning to end. You literally can move the button across the thing unless you're watching it live. And if you're watching it live, they don't need to keep it traditional like actual television. They make their own. They're their own cable network. They're their own channel. They don't have to respond to be like, well, we got to end the show. We only have this room for the next 15 minutes. Everyone has to get out. Come on. Like, they literally
I would imagine
their own time.
I would imagine their pushback would be, though, that there's a balance of live watchability, but there's also, it's very important to have live watchability. If you have that massive audience during the event, as you said at the front of this, like, that's power. He can go to the advertisers and say, we got this thing down to 3.5 hours. The live viewership's insane. And then obviously the viewership after is probably a part of his pitch. Like, look at the long tail engagement that we get on the broadcast after the fact. But I think that live watchability is based upon viewer behavior, viewer tolerance, like what Eugene's saying. Like, you can't go There is a limit. So I think going beyond 3.5 hours would probably be it would have a deteriorating effect on the event, because you want the crescendo at the end. That's always where the viewership goes way, way up, because everyone's like, what's the game of the year? People are asking about the rapid fire categories that didn't even get to like come up on stage. I'm pretty sure award ceremonies like this, that's standard practice. They are just minor categories that you can't even bring up on stage. I believe the Oscars, the Grammys, all of them, they have like a separate event for the smaller categories that's in like a hotel ballroom, where they just get to walk up and say, hey, I'm so glad that I got, best key grip of the year or whatever. Like, that's not a category, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's minor categories in these other award ceremonies that they're not even a part of the big event. They have a separate event. Yeah,
exactly right. And the way it's treated here is that extra half hour before, when what's her name? The host, she does a really good job. I forget her name now. Is it Kirsty or Christy, whatever, Christine, whatever the girl's name was. Anyway, she stands up and goes, oh, and the winners are blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing. And she gives that they do in the other industries, right? That's the night before, basically, type of thing, where they put them in a room and they go, oh, last night, this is their 6th award, and they won 2 last night when they were, right? That's what they say, right? They won other awards, and then this is the main stage. But this is what I'm saying. You could have cut out the esports guys and stuff like that if you wanted to, because nobody cares. Right? Nobody cares about that. Or the majority of the population doesn't care about who's the best esports coach or the best esports team. And they just blind. It's like the credits, like doing this, right? They're just real fast. Nobody cares. Okay. They could have done that a little bit extra, right? Given extra time. They could have taken Simu Liu and Matthew McConaughey. What was the other guy that came out that kept saying,
Anthony Mackie.
Oh my God. Like, what? You get, like, you shut up. No, you shut up. Like, that right there, all that needs to get cut out. That is cringe moment 101 between all these people. Oh yeah, my ankle's broke, and meanwhile, some guy can't say thank you now to his wife because he has no time to say anything. Like, if you watch the the winners, when they go up, they pull that piece of paper out of their hand and they're like this, right? They're like, I like to thank, right? They are super nervous standing up there in front of that group because they're developers. They're not celebrities, right? They get real nervous. Their brain doesn't think right away. They got a timer on the back of the thing, 30 seconds. They got to wrap it up. I got to thank somebody, right? There's a lot of stuff going on that you don't think about when you're just watching the show, okay? Like, these people don't have their stuff together, right? I had to, quiet myself there for a second, right? They have to quiet down to try to figure out what they're going to say, and they can't do that. And they're on a budget. They're like, we got to move the show. We got to move along. Come on. Like, the hook comes out and they start pulling them off. That's what the music is, right? The music is take the hook, pull that gesture off the court.
Well, and people are saying there were a lot of categories that Whiskey Neat said, there were some important categories that got that treatment. Well, there's 31 categories and there were 10 official acceptance speeches, right? So that means 21 categories got shuffled to like the side announcement. Again, I think my pushback would be, you're not owed anything. Like, he does this event to put a big spotlight on 31 categories, so many devs, so many studios, musician art, like artists show up, indie devs, small devs, AA devs, like so many people get a little bit of this spotlight, and it's super helpful to them. Like, we know that Ori and the Blind Forest the one year came out of nowhere, got all these nominations, and then everybody's gunning for Moon and wants the sequel, and Xbox steps in and helps to fund it or whatever. And I think that I don't know, there's this sort of just weird unspoken entitlement. It's like, he made this amazing event, tons of people get the spotlight, tons of people get promoted, even if it's 5 seconds on the screen, that's a pretty big moment that no one owes you. Like, he made the categories, and set this whole jury system up. I think, another 30 to 60 seconds for the acceptance speeches, and you got yourself a perfect event. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, We go from being really excited about Keanu Reeves coming out and being like, you're breathtaking, and now we're like, oh, these freaking celebrities, get out of here. And it's like, I don't disagree that the celebrity stuff can get a little, like, even last year, like Pacino, it was like, oh my gosh, dude, what's going on here?
Pacino last year was terrible.
What's going on here? But, like, I actually thought Anthony Mackie was funny. Like, he was a nut. Like, he just comes down, he's yelling at the audience, the audience is yelling back at him. He should have stopped maybe 30 seconds earlier. Like, I think he drew it out a little bit too long.
When you say they're not owed, right? You're like, they're not owed anything. And someone said, well, they could not do the whole show next year. Okay, what does it do for me? What am I getting out of this? Where a developer could literally just post their stuff online and go, yeah, here's our new trailer, dropped on YouTube. Here it is. Twitter does it, runs a post. Like, it doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form if the show goes on or doesn't go on, right? If they don't do it, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo would go, hey, you know what? Keely's not doing a show anymore because nobody likes it. Let's just drop our trailers for our next games coming out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he would be vindictive. I think he's standing pretty tall right now. I think the fact that, you know, everybody got overly critical is more of a symptom of that's how people get clicks. That's kind of a symptom of, you know, how games media and the games YouTube cycle runs, you know, is if you go negative, you're going to get more clicks. He responded pretty quickly that they are definitely going to a lot more time in the future for acceptance speeches. But somebody's saying in the chat, well, you know, just call it Winter Game Fest instead of the Game Awards. Again, I don't understand. I don't understand the frustration. Like, I would rather watch the event he made than an event that's nothing but acceptance speeches. Like, I want the big announcements and the big trailers and the surprise celebrity appearances. Like, it's fun. I like the fact that some band gets to play their song. Even if I'm not really a fan of the song, like, I think what he's built is super cool and super varied, and a 3-hour-long show of 31 acceptance speeches, brother, I'd turn that off after 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm freaking out of here. It's so boring, so self-indulgent. Like, the general public doesn't care about that, and he has to consider what drives viewership and interest.
That's what I said in the very beginning. I said no one cares about these the speeches and stuff. That's why when you go to these banquets and these other places, they're not televised, because that's what brings the advertisement in. These trailers. Everyone's watching this show. A very small percentage of you care who the coach was of the year or what team won best esports, right? Most of us are self-indulgent. Show me the trailers. What's cool coming out next year? What platforms it's coming on? Oh, cool. I'm being entertained while I'm watching what trailers are coming out. That's it. That's what 99% of the people watching this award show want to know, what games are coming to their platform and what looks good to next year. That's it. They don't care about I worked 7 months or 7 years for this game, and I like to thank my wife. They're like, boring. Get off the stage. Bring on Matthew McConaughey. Right? They don't care. The majority of the population doesn't care.
Right. Like, if you want to watch those types of awards, like Eugene is saying, there are events that you can go watch, and guess what? You're not. Nobody's watching them. Like, they're not. They're not doing as well. Right? And why? Because there's a symbiotic relationship here. You can't just do an awards ceremony. It has to be a blend. And yes, he has basically blended what you would call like Winter Game Fest with the Game Awards, but you can't call it something else because it has that draw now. It's like, oh, the Game Awards. Every year we get to see the best games celebrated and the best games that are coming. Like, I think that's just such a happy medium. I think getting persnickety about the name of the event or don't call it that or whatever, it's like, I kind of want Keeley to be like, build your own damn show then. Like that, you know what I'm saying? Just be like, do your own thing. Like, I built this, and if you want to be involved, great. And if not, then do your own thing. Like, that's what I would say. I'd be like, get out of here. Go do your own thing then.
He's doing this, and if you really care about the rewards and stuff, then you'll watch the BAFTAs. You'll watch the DICE Awards. That's what these things are, right? Those are peers of the industry voting on their peers on what the best games are, and that's like Hollywood, right? The Hollywood elites go into their own little banquet hall and they give each other awards. That's what BAFTA is. That's what the DICE Awards are. This is not that. This is literally the Super Bowl of video games of the year, okay? And you're watching the commercials instead of watching the actual game. The game is the speeches and the nominees, and the commercials are the video games that you're waiting in between. That's it. You got to look at it. Speeches are the commercial, and the trailers are the actual show.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm be honest. Like, he's got to keep a lot of people happy. He's got to keep investors happy. He's got to keep the advertisers happy. He's got to keep a lot of people happy. And if the only people walking away from this that are the most sort of grumpy and whiny are, the gaming press, I think he's fine, because it's like they have to be involved. Like, they're not going to stop supporting it. He didn't do anything offensive. He didn't do anything that's like bad or wrong. And if he gives developers more allotted time to talk, he'll win their goodwill back, right? Because they want to be involved. Are you kidding me? The amount of marketing and the amount of just eyeballs on their games that these guys got. We didn't get to talk as long as we wanted. Are you kidding me? Baldur's Gate 3 probably got a big boost in sales just from this event. The game developers are not going to boycott the event over this year. I think they're just going to say, hey, he promised more allotted time. Let's see how next year goes. If he walks away from an event of this size and how much it costs and all the things that could go wrong, and the worst thing that comes out of it is the gaming press is criticizing him, I would say over criticizing him. If that's the worst to come out of this, I'd say he came out looking like a winner.
I think he's just got to fine tune a little bit, right? Last year was too long with the speeches, especially with Christopher Judd, right? And then this year they overcompensated. They turned the dial too much and said, off the stage, come on, we got to go, right? And they were hurrying people. And I think if he just dials it back just a little bit back the other direction, I think it'll be fine, right? But that changes throughout the show because one idiot comes on stage and just does something for just too long, and it pushes everything else back, right? So
yeah, it's a finely tuned orchestra, and if somebody does their own thing, like you're saying, it throws the entire show off. And that's why at the end I was so impressed. I was like, no, there wasn't some idiot kid that got on stage, that didn't happen. And there were the fact when I watch an event and there's no issue with the sound, I'm like cheering for the sound guy. I'm like, thank goodness nobody's mics were off. Nobody, we weren't like hearing somebody through the monitors. We never had any of that. And I remember every year watching like the Sony showcase at E3, and the sound was always bad and something wasn't right and the trailer was too quiet. And I was like, this thing ran like a just perfect machine. And that's impressive, because I've been on the other side of the camera. I've been main stage. I know how easy it is for something just to not work or to not go right, or the B-roll's glitchy. I remember the Borderlands 3 reveal. Remember that? Where Randy Pitchford goes to play it, and it's on some laptop, and it's running like crap, and he's like, guys, stop. He's like, we reboot it. And like, everybody's just sitting around waiting, for the stupid thing to start.
Yep.
So I was impressed. I thought it was a great show, and I think I hope he's taking it well, because it's probably, it probably doesn't feel great to turn around after an event that big and have the press kind of betray you. I think they've overstated it. It's fine to be critical and say, hey, there's room for improvement, but I just think it felt like a little bit of a betrayal to me.
I also think after the fact, when you sit there, like when you're watching it, you don't really realize it, but then when you think about it afterwards, you're like, they could have done this better. They could have done that better. And I think that's what always is going to happen. I mean, look, Keighley, like you said, doesn't have to do this. And I think he's doing the best job he can. I just feel they don't have to treat it like traditional television. You're on your own channel. You can literally make the rules as you go.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. And somebody said like, oh, he makes tons of money from this as well. I'm not trying to say like this is some charity work that he's doing, but what I'm saying is when I say, when I say like you're not owed anything, what I'm saying is like he made the event, okay? He built this thing, and if he makes a ton of money from it, then that's exactly as it should be. Like if you built an event like this and it was your idea and you took some risks and some of your own, probably maybe even some of your own capital investment and approached investors, and you take a lot of risk, you take a lot of potential problems that could come your way if it doesn't go well, and it's successful, and if he's walking away with a fat check, why are you pocket watching? Cool. Great. I'm glad he made a ton of money. Good for him. If somebody builds something that's massively successful, that's what should happen.
Yeah, he made it. Why can't he make money?
Right. Like, come on. The dude walked away from E3 and was like, I'll do my own thing. Right? And, E3's dead. Long live the king. Long live King Keighley, I say. I'm in his corner. You know, I appreciate what he brings and what he does, and I think, you know, people they do the same thing with Summer Game Fest. Like, that was a bad show, and I'm like, oh, be quiet. Well, where's E3? E3 was a dinosaur. It refused to evolve. It's their own fault, you know. It was just their own fault. They refused
Live
to
shows
evolve.
and events are I worked in it for 20 years. They are a beast in itself, man. To do stuff to make sure everything runs smooth. Like, they're not just working that day, man. They're a week ahead of time practicing and going through all the stuff and rehearsing and doing all the things. So,
yeah, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I think we now have, you know, we're gonna do another show. We'll do a show of what we're looking forward to in 2024, because after this event, man, shaping up to be a good year, a big year, a lot of games, you know, and some question marks about whether or not we're gonna get an Xbox Direct, or when's the next day to play. But we know there's that Summer Game Fest now. I mean, he set these nice bookends of, you know, the summer and the winter, and I think it's great. I appreciate it, and I think it's fun. I like co-streaming it. I like the trailers. I like the announcements. I think it's a good time.
As a content creator, it's great. You have plenty of stuff to talk about.
Well, I think even as a gamer, as a spectator, I'd be pumped. I'm like, there's so many games coming. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's just a feast. It's just a feast of stuff to play.
I used to love when G4 TV covered like E3, right? And I would sit there all weekend, grab my snacks, sit down at the TV, and just watch literally all weekend everything they covered. It was the best. And now you can just turn on YouTube and be like, oh, what trailers just showed up, right? If you're like an hour and a half late, you can just go to YouTube and just watch all the trailers that dropped that hour you missed.
Yeah. Well, and I'm actually curious what the viewership is like this as the weeks go on, because like that night's probably huge, and it probably just immediately goes down. Because like once people know, they're like, oh, I know what Game of the Year is. You know, they kind of move on. So. Well, we on Fridays, guys, we do our once a week, we do a VIP stream. So we're going to go to that. So if you want to upgrade to VIP, do that. Tonight is for everybody. Every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm usually streaming with my wife. Well, she's got a little Christmas get together tonight. So I'm going to be playing with Hilly, and we're going to be playing some Lego Fortnite. Now, we had a goal today for community game night. I even lowered it. I was like, hey, let's just do 200 members. I don't think it was fair. We didn't give you enough time because the Fortnite stream was super short. But if you guys want to scramble to unlock community game night, you don't have a lot of time. You got Mike's ending comments and my ending comments to get it done. But stick around for VIP if you're a VIP, and I'll see you tonight for Hilly Hijinks we'll be playing, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Mike, where can they find you? What have you been doing with your content lately?
I've been slacking off on the uploads, but most of the time, Monday through Thursday, I do the news show in the morning. We talk about 3 topics. Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock to about noon. And then Monday through Wednesday, we do some gameplay. I have a special guest this week on Tuesday. I'm going to be interviewing the Kinger. He's got a YouTube channel. I'm going to be interviewing him on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. And then podcast, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, Generation X Gaming, weekly podcast that goes over a few top stories in the past week, and we rant along the way. So that's what I got.
They must not want to play with you, Hilly. So we... Well, that's awesome, guys. Definitely check out 30 and Still Gaming's channel if you're listening to the audio version of later, or you're watching, the past broadcast. You can click his name in the description below, or you can look him up on YouTube. 30 NSG interviews, podcasts, coverage, news. It's good stuff. And if you're looking for someone who will dig into a game and play it and put the distance in, I usually give you guys day one, and then I move on, right? Well, if Mike digs in on a game, he digs in on a game. He did that with Avengers. You did that with Hogwarts, right? You streamed.
I do that with all my games. No matter what game I play, I dig it in. Yeah.
He digs in. So make sure and subscribe over there. Give him some love. Check out his content. Even if you can't catch him live, just like my shows, you can watch them later, right? Don't be shy about that. Like if you miss
unlike the Game
show.
Awards, you can come by and watch my stuff afterwards. It's up there.
Well, as I said, guys, thank you for 200 likes. Thank you for over 100 members today. I'm going to provide a link in chat. If you are not currently at a VIP status, you can upgrade by going to the members tab, and let me provide the VIPs with a link in chat. We are also going to redirect, and that sometimes doesn't work, so you may have to go to the members only playlist and click on it, or just use that link in chat, and we'll see you over there. Thanks so much for being a VIP or higher, the once-a-week VIP unfiltered stream. It returns. We've not done this in a while, or at least we haven't done it with Mike in a while. He'll be with us for a little bit here. We do have some other things we typically do now on these VIP streams. It's kind of secret, like little secret projects that we've been working on. Once Mike steps away, we've got other things that we do. So maybe consider bumping up the VIP if you're watching the tail end of the show that I just got done doing with him. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching our Gaming in 2023 review. I'm going to end that stream and bring everybody over. That stream's now over. I'm going to change that thumbnail also to make sure that it doesn't say